Welcome to week number 1 wrap up. I hope you enjoyed what we've done so far. We first looked at data and more data and more data. The key categories, pun intended, are to understand the difference between categorical data, often found on quick check-off surveys, versus numeric, where we had discrete and continuous. And our goal is to utilize continuous data as much as possible, or at least discrete, but that's not always easy to do. Then we talked about data visuals. We talked about summary tables and bar charts, histograms and pie charts. There's a little histogram from my most recent exam where you can see there's a tail to the left making it left skewed. Contingency tables and scatter plots. Here's a scatter plot of my exam 1 versus exam 2 scores, where you can see that there's not as much variation at the high end as there is at the low end, which is somewhat to be expected. Usually the good students score well on both tests. Then we moved on to descriptive statistics, where we looked at the middle with the mean, median, and mode, variation with the range, standard deviation, and the IQR, which stands for interquartile range, just to name a few. Then we looked at the shape like we saw in the exam score example. Ideally, we'd like things to be symmetrical and even normally distributed, but most data is either left or more likely right skewed. Then we finished up that section with a 5-number summary and box plots, amongst other things. And here's a little box plot of the exam scores where you can see the 2 lower points. There's a couple of students who didn't do very well. Hopefully they'll improve on the final. Then we finished up with probability. We started with basic probability, where we worked with a contingency table to answer questions like, what is the probability of a brown house? What is the probability that you have a yellow house in the central region? And even things like conditional probabilities, like what is the probability that a house is blue given that it is in the north region? And then we looked at discrete probability with a summary table. Here we looked at potentially the number of items purchased. 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Then we found the count or frequency for each of that. Then we turned that into a decimal or percentage. And these are all very helpful to get a basic understanding of your data set. I look forward to working with you in week 2.